Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to my channel. Today I'll show you how to remove the battery or replace the battery on any of the MacBook model in which the battery is glued or attached to your body panel. So for this example, I'll just show you this is the battery that comes along with the battery. Most of the battery, if it is OG, you will get these screwdrivers which are universally good for any of the MacBook models and especially for this MacBook model. So let's just try by removing all the screws from the MacBook. So I will speed up this video so that it is not necessary to show how to remove the screws. Once the screws are out, you know what to remove now. You can see all these batteries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 batteries are there, and these batteries you have to remove it, and these are attached, completely attached to your body panel and non-removable. For this, I will be using this glue. It is called glue cleaner. You can take a screenshot. So it is the easiest way. You can also use it by heating, but then heating is actually difficult. You need pry tool to remove this. Metal pry tools are really bad for the batteries because if they are damaged, they can blast or they can erupt fire as well. So we are going to use a plastic prying tool. So you can use any of the plastic that you get. Even a playing card is fine if it is hard enough. Plastic playing card. So now we'll remove all the screws. Once we're done removing all the screws, now we'll try to pry open the batteries. Now we'll use the same glue remover that I showed you earlier. This glue remover I put it in the syringe so that we can put on those battery caps, smaller caps. You can use it without the syringe as well, but then using the syringe will be much easier. And before we try to remove the battery, we are going to put the solution on the batteries. So I open the display, I open the laptop so that it does not fall on the display. So this glue remover is really bad for the display. If it falls on the display, it is going to create white patches on the display background. So be careful when you're actually pouring those solution on your batteries. So I'm just pouring downwards and then on that caps, and whenever I put the solution, make sure to pry the plastic between those battery and then put the glue on top of the prying plastic and then try to insert it as the glue goes in, as the glue remover goes inside the battery. It will actually make the glue weaker and weaker, and we can pry it really easily. You can see it is very easy. If I have not had the glue remover, it would have been really difficult to remove the batteries. So it is very easy to remove. So one battery, the first battery will definitely be very easy, and the next batteries, they are actually right beside each other. That will be a little bit difficult, but try not to damage the batteries while removing, and be careful. Try to use plastic most of the time. Many people I have seen, they have used metal pry tool, but that will actually damage, and sometimes it can blast the battery as well. So now the second battery, same procedure. So the battery is out, and for the second battery as well, same procedure. Take the plastic prying tool and put the solution right between the plastic and the battery so that it reaches the glue. You can see how carefully I am doing without making any damage to the battery. So I'll show you the battery later on. So I'm keeping it in a straight position so that the glue actually penetrates inside the battery glue. So this position also will be very helpful. Try it all by yourself. You know the reason why I said syringe, because syringe has that long tube which can actually reach those very small gaps. Keep repeating the same thing, keep going up and down until the glue leaves the battery. You can see I'm doing the same thing for this. And these two batteries, the first two and the last two batteries, are very easy to remove, but then the one that are in the middle are the most difficult one. That is where you need to spend a lot of time. So once one side of the glue comes, battery has actually two stripes. So one stripe comes, the other stripe comes easily. Even you can use your hand force and then try to pull it off. On the other side of the battery also I'm trying the same technique. I'm trying to go pry a little bit inside the battery and then put the glue remover. This makes the job easier. So this procedure of removing battery or anything glue is actually universal. This procedure is universal. You can use for any of the MacBook. Not this MacBook model is A1398. It is not meant only for this. This is for any model and for removing anything that is attached with the glue. I would suggest that if you don't have this glue remover or you cannot afford this glue remover for any of the small works that you're doing, you can actually use your bike's petrol. Take out a little bit of petrol and then use the same thing. The gum gets really weak and then you can pry it out really easily. So this solution, I use it to remove the glue that is placed on in my helmet or MacBook, or to clean the MacBook or my desktop, anything, but not on the surface where there are wood polishes or anything. That is very dangerous. So coming to the battery, so you can see I'm prying from all the different angles, trying to pry it out. So once the battery is out, now the most challenging part is the battery that is there in the center. So center, you have to be very careful. That is where the trackpad comes. A little bit of small mistake and you can actually pry it out. You might pry it out the trackpad. The trackpads are really expensive. You have to be very careful with the trackpad. So you can see the same procedure. I'm just putting those in the very tight gaps. I'm putting those glue remover. And make sure that you can actually see the picture of a battery that is already removed from this particular model on the internet to see if there are any underlying cables. If there are cables, that is going to be really bad, because this prying tool, this plastic prying tool, also can damage that cable, and the cables are really expensive, you know that. Since this two batteries are positioned in such a way that we cannot actually reach from the other side as well, so we are trying from the top. And this is not the only solution. Actually, I can give you 10 different ways of removing the battery, but out of those all, I found this is the most easiest and non-damaging way. You can actually use your knife to remove the battery, but sometimes if there are layers in the batteries, if they touch each other, definitely they are going to spark and then blast. So slide it till the end it reaches the battery and remove it, and then now you can try from the sides as well. If it is really difficult, try to put the liquid again. So now this plastic pry tool, I'll take it out and then try to lift the battery a little bit so that I can insert this prying tool and then pry it over. That makes it easy. Keep a plastic prying tool handy. You can see the blue color plastic tool made it so easier to remove the battery just by lifting the battery. Just lift the battery a little bit and then put the plastic pry tool inside. That is just like a pulley. It is just to support, so, bring the battery upward so that the paper can get in. Some more solution. Almost done. Make sure you do not touch the motherboard. So you can see my hand is just above the motherboard. I'm actually not touching the motherboard. Your hand also has a certain amount of current that can actually damage some of the components. The electrostatic. So battery is almost out, completely out now. So you can see all the residue of the gum there. You can see how many strips of the glues are there that we have actually removed. And once you're done, try to remove that. Even if you don't remove, it's fine, but try to remove using the same glue remover and using that plastic pry tool. And once you're done with that, take the new battery and then don't place it inside, don't remove the glue and then place it inside. Just try to test it. If it works, then you can go ahead changing the battery. So once we put the battery connector, we'll try to switch it on, and once we are sure that it switches on, yes, it switches on. So now we are sure that the battery is working fine, and now we'll check the battery. We'll just get inside the MacBook, go to Apple, About Mac, and check the power section here. And if the power section says the battery cycle is 0, that means it's a new battery and a healthy battery, working battery. And you can see the percentage as well on top. You can see the percentage dropping. So once you're sure that the battery is working fine, take the battery again, remove the battery connector carefully with the pry tool. Try not to force it too much, you might damage the motherboard, that will be more costly. Now you can remove this wrapper which is covering the glue, and once that is done, you just place it on the place where the previous battery was. Carefully you can place it between those screw points, and then you have to find a point. You can see between my thumb there are two holes that should match the one that is below the really well on it. And time to put the screws on both the board. This is the battery board, so battery controller board. It is just like an SMPS that you have on your desktop, so it is the controller. So that board you can place it firmly on the board by using the screws. You can actually skip this as well, but then it is really important that it does not dangle inside when you're moving and you're traveling. So that's the reason why we are actually putting the screw. And once you put the screw, make sure everything is intact and the connector is also well placed on the motherboard. This is the only part most of the time we forget. Once you place the battery, we forget to put the connectors. So this should be on your checklist, that once the battery is in, you'll have to put the connectors as well. So that is usually most of the technicians or anyone who is doing for the first time, they definitely tend to forget. And this sticker, you can remove it or let it be. I'm letting it be because that will hold the batteries in place in case the glue is not tight enough. And I'll just check once again. This is the second time I'm checking. First time once I put the battery for testing, and second time once I place the battery inside the board. Now I'm sure that it is running because the fan is running. And now I'll put the panel and put all the screws. I'll speed this process of putting the screw because everybody knows how to put the screws. Once all the screws are in place, we have to confirm again if everything is working fine. Now we'll open the MacBook again and switch it on to see the performance. Now we'll get inside the system and then check. So everything seems to be working because this is the third time that I'm checking if the battery is working fine. So everything seems to be working fine, and now we can actually use the battery. We can try charging the battery from 0 to 100, and this is it. This is the entire procedure of placing or replacing the battery in any of the MacBooks. If you like this video, do like, share and subscribe.